If you give me 2 minutes, I'll explain to you my three-step process I use in every single trade, right? So it all comes down to using 15-minute fair value gaps, 1 minute for entry, and we validate everything with the order flow, right? So let's break this down on the actual charts. So what we have over here is we have a beautiful rejection entry off a fair value gap as we look to ride this daily candle. But it all comes from the three steps. So the first thing you want to understand is you're looking for a 15-minute fair value gap, right? Heads up. When you're looking for a 15-minute fair value gap, you are essentially marking out the last candle before the imbalance. This is very, very important. So now that we see price rejecting off this area, you need to understand exactly what's happening in this region. So now let's understand what's actually going on inside of this region, right? So as you can see, the candles here are pretty aggressive, right? So we see a ton of aggressive sellers over here and a ton of aggressive sellers just resting in this area. But what's interesting, when we come into this area, we want to understand that we had so many sellers resting above here, and we also had a decent number of sellers down here. But what you want to understand with these sellers is that these sellers were unable to break the level, right? This level was able to hold pretty successfully, and these sellers failed, right? What's also more interesting is that when we understand the volume and the bid and the bid and the ask is presenting us with so many zeros. We see literally over 50 zeros resting in this area. So what that means, when we see a bunch of zeros, when we go back to the regular candlestick chart, a bunch of zeros simply represents a lack of volume, right? So what's really happening over here is that the market is moving down, but the market isn't being supported with volume, right? So let's just quickly go down to the 5 minute time frame. So on the 5 minute time frame, what is going on here essentially is that we see so many sellers in this region, but none of them are being rewarded, right? We can see that with the rejection over here. We can see very, very clearly that these sellers are not being rewarded. In fact, we had a massive green candle with a big, big seller over here, but the level was still able to hold. Now, this is what we call the three-step approach to understanding order flow, volume, and footprint charts. So everything comes down to a 15-minute fair value gap, 1 minute for entry, and you're confirming everything with the order flow in order to take price long.